the MH-60L DAP Black Hawk in War Thunder. One of the most iconic helicopters in the world. The workhorse of the US Armed Forces and many other countries. It was so revolutionary that it held the legacy of the previous helicopter as well. And it was so successful at doing its job, it was also used as a gunship. And now, this monster is here in War Thunder, after all these years of waiting. Hello ladies and gentlemen, my name is Bob Dickinson and welcome back to another War Thunder review. Today we will be reviewing the MH-60L Direct Action Penetrator or DAP Black Hawk. But before we do that, let's talk about its history. Named after the Native American war leader Black Hawk, the UH-60A entered service with the US Army in 1979 to replace the Bell UH-1 Iroquois as the Army's tactical transport helicopter. Just like every single time as before, they proposed a design to multiple manufacturers. 3 of them showed up, 2 chosen as finalists, and the prototypes rolled out. At the end, the Sikorsky S-70 was chosen, and it was entered service in 1979. Later in 1987, the US Army ordered the development of an improved version, the MH-60L. Most notably, this variant introduced more powerful engines and allowed the Black Hawk to carry a substantially higher payload of offensive weapons. Fun fact, there's also a variant of the Black Hawk that was also used in the Operation Neptune Spear, a special heavily modified Black Hawk that was stealth. You just have to look at the rotor blades and you will actually realize it. Just for the sake of monetization and context, the Operation Neptune Spear was about the Navy SEALs dealing with this guy. But anyways, enough of history class, let's talk about the armors and modules. Welcome to the Armor and Modular Protection Analysis, where we basically analyze the armors and modules inside of a vehicle. Today's helicopter is the MH-60L Direct Action Penetrator, or DAP. Now the first thing we need to take a look at is the crew. The crew has CCIP on all of its weapons, including rockets, cannons, and a turret, despite Gaijin not implementing neither any of its cannons or a turret. It has optics with 63.5 times zoom, including TV and flare sensors. It has night vision and thermals. It has an AN/APR-39 radar warning receiver, an IRSD auto tracker, an AN/AVR-2 laser warning receiver, a laser designator, 90 countermeasures including chaffs and flares, and last but not least, an IRCM. This helicopter has one self-sealing fuel tank with these fuel presets. The amount of fuel you carry on this helicopter is pretty much standard and the fuel consumption is as normal as it gets. Just remember that the Black Hawk is not a light helicopter. Therefore, the heavier you go on the fuel load, the less responsive and harder it becomes to control. This helicopter has 2 General Electric T700-GE-701C engines. Same engines that are installed on the American, Japanese, and Israeli AH-64D. Now these engines are quite powerful and you can get away with kicking the collective pitch to the max. However, as I said, the Black Hawk is relatively heavy. So managing your collective pitch is highly recommended to maximize the performance. And even if you're set on fire, I'm sure that the fire extinguisher will be a good friend, since this helicopter does in fact have fire extinguishers. At the end, you have the oil cooling systems, transmissions, traction of the control surfaces, and prop shafts. Now let's get on with the armaments that the Black Hawk has. With the first one being the Hydra 70 rocket pods. 4 pods installed on the aircraft, giving you 76 rockets total. The 2.75-inch Hydra 70 is the standard top-tier American rocket that is used on a lot of platforms. They have good amount of penetration and explosive mass alongside a nice range and speed. It is in fact the workhorse of most of the mid to top-tier American helis. Now one interesting thing I noticed was that every time I played the Apache, the Hydra pods looked decently sized. But when I played the Black Hawk, they looked relatively tiny. This pretty much explains the pylon placement of the Black Hawk and the entire airframe being much thicker than your usual helicopter. Other than the unguided rockets, this helicopter can also carry the AGR-20A and AGR-20Bs, or should I say APKWS-2s, or Advanced Precision Kill Weapon System, both M151 and M282 variants. The M151 has nice explosive mass but low penetration. The M282 has a better penetration, but almost half of the explosive mass. Actually, one of you guys who subscribed to my channel said it really well. The APKWS initially flies unguided as its laser tracking sensor has a range of somewhere between 2 and 4 kilometers. When it gets in range of your laser designated area, it will start tracking and maneuvering towards the target. In order to reach the limit of the APKWS, you need to fire them in an arch upwards so that they can reach the area unguided. The sad part is you need to estimate the angle of the fire by yourself in order for the rocket to reach its target. I advise you to participate in a test drive if you plan on using it. And special thanks to Marks 5790. I mean, yeah, sure thing, this is one of the ways you can also use the rockets. Other than that, the rockets themselves are not really that great. Maybe the M151 is going to be really useful as it can overpressure some SPAs, but even then you have to aim for them carefully. Overall, it's decent until you get the Hellfires, and speaking of Hellfires, this helicopter can carry the AGM-1 14 kg Hellfire 2 missiles, 4 installed on each pylon, giving you 16 total. These Hellfires are quite punchy, and if you ever played the previous helicopters such as the AH-6M or OH-58D Kiowa Warrior with the 4 Hellfires that they have, you can understand how well they perform. They have a top attack flight path, they have great penetration and explosive mass, and they are tandem charged. They strike the enemies quite hard, given if they're not behind smokes or bushes or trees. And last but not least, we have the AIM-92 Stingers. 2 installed on 4 pylons, giving you 8 total. The AIM-92 Stingers are a bit of a hit or miss. They pull only 10 Gs, and their proxy fuse sometimes just does not want to work. However, the Stinger has one trick up its and it is the incredible flare resistance that it has. You can use this to take down enemy choppers in the K-50s, and sometimes I've even seen it finding the IRCMs on the K-52s. Also, one more interesting thing about this Stinger mount of this helicopter, you see, generally helicopters like the AH-64 have their dedicated Stinger mount, and it is totally optional to take them with you or not. You're not gonna lose a lot of things if you carry them. On this helicopter, on the other hand, you have to sacrifice your pods in order to have Stingers. Sure, you can get 8 of them, but carrying which armaments on which pylons totally depends on you. There are some other armaments that the Black Hawk could also carry but are not present in the game, such as the M230 Bushmaster on the right inner pylon, or the 2 M134 miniguns, or the GAU-19s. Apparently there's like also some sort of a door mounted miniguns as well. And I just feel like Gaijin didn't have enough time to put them all in this helicopter, as when they announced the updates on the live stream, the helicopter was not even fully modeled. And it wasn't even on the heli tree, so yeah, maybe this can explain why Israel does not have it either. Hopefully we can see them in the future. Now let's get on with the mobility. Okay, so in this section of the video, I was going to explain how the mobility of this helicopter works, and I will, but before I do that, I just wanted to show you guys this insane glitch, right? So what you're going to do in this glitch, you're going to go to hover mode, fly backwards, and give it an extreme angle to the helicopter and set the pitch a little bit down. Just wait for a little bit, and just look how fast this helicopter is climbing. Like, I climbed over 2,000 to 3,000 meters in less than a minute. This is only available in arcade, so don't worry, ground RB won't be affected by it. When it comes to the mobility of this helicopter, it is definitely something special. As I said many times, the helicopter feels really heavy, and the engines you got are absolute units. They don't stall and they don't destroy themselves when you over-rev them for a short time. I'm looking at you, Allison. And the helicopter will rotate from its blades rather than the center of the fuselage. You can actually see this in this comparison with the AH-64. This gives the feeling that this helicopter is a one heavy son of a bitch with 2 Goliath of an engines. Some people compare it to the G-Lynx, but let's be honest, it's not even that close, to be honest. What I would like to compare it to is the Mi-8. Not the Mi-24 though, as that thing is insanely armored and is an entire class of its own. Both were utility helicopters converted to gunships. They have 2 powerful engines, and despite being really heavy and not that maneuverable and not that armored, they are serviceable and they're nice to fly with. Even though the Mi-8 is more slower than the Black Hawk, both still actually got the delay in their input. The pitch control on the Black Hawk is decent. The yaw control is nice, and the roll rate has a delay, but it's still good enough. Now let's get on with the game modes. When it comes to ground RP, I'm not a guy who plays a lot of it. However, I found some interesting playstyles that can help you out on grinding the helicopters with ground RP. You can rocket rush, you can use Hellfires or APKWS-2s, you can also use Stingers to take down helicopters or enemy aircraft. Again, it depends on you. And in general, the Black Hawk feels hollow and is very much empty on the inside. Just like me. Well, that was personal. It can take some shots, but still, this helicopter has no protection plates or bulletproof glasses that can protect your crew. So your pilot will be the victim most of the time. This was my best experience in ground RB. Now let's get on with the Heli PVE. In Heli PVE you have 5 different objectives to work around with. Let's analyze the role of the Black Hawk on the battlefield and see how capable it is on performing these objectives. Destroying enemy bases is something you can do really well. You can carry 16 Hellfires that have nice explosive mass, and your range is good enough to destroy the Rollins. Destroying enemy assaults and defenses are something you can also do quite well. You have rockets, guided rockets, air-to-ground missiles, and you have all your options on the table. Feel free to engage with the SPAs and enemy tanks, as your ATGMs allow you to penetrate their armor like a hot knife through butter. Just remember, aim for the ammo racks and weak spots. Destroying enemy convoys is something you can also do. Your optics are nice enough for you to zoom in and destroy the enemy in long ranges, although in close range you don't have the 30mm cannon nor any kind of turret. And the IRST auto tracker alongside its laser designator will help you out on tracking the enemies. Landing and capturing base A is something you are forbidden to do so, because last time I saw someone do it, you can land and capture the base A, although the way the Black Hawk handles its mobility is quite different than other helicopters. You don't have the best maximum speed, so cutting shortcuts or tactical turning is going to be one of your tricks up your sleeve. Or, I'm sorry, tricks up your pylon. Destroying enemy bombers and attackers is something I had fun time playing. You have 8 Stingers or 6 Stingers for each plane, depending on your loadout, and when you make it work, you can dominate the skies. Given if there's no one shooting the aircrafts down, but overall, it's an enjoyable vehicle. The MH-60L Black Hawk is an iconic aircraft that I really enjoyed flying. I hope that one day we get more variants of it in more nations fairly soon. That being said, ladies and gentlemen, if you enjoyed this video, you can join my membership, like the video, subscribe to my channel, dislike it if you dislike it. This is me, Bob Dickinson, and thank you for watching.